welcome to JIT Television News Bulletin this hour, where we bring you daily news, information, current affairs, business and investment, as well as finance and what is happening in the world of stock market and global economics. Entertainment is our business. News on multiple platforms for all Zimbabweans and all Africans on one channel. The time is here. Isikhathi sifikile. Let's take a look at your headlines for this hour. Zimbabwe emerges as the biggest exporter of labor in the health services as most health professionals leave the country for United Kingdom. South African civil society group is up against Bain and Company following the state capture inquiry report. COVID-19 pandemic stands as the major challenge of the Continental Soccer Tournament, as many players are refrained from participating after testing positive. Your news in detail. United Kingdom's National Health Services reveals that Zimbabwe is one of its biggest exporters of labor in the health sector, ranking it as the second country after Nigeria in terms of the numbers of health professionals working in the United Kingdom. In 2021, 4,780 medical professionals reportedly left for the United Kingdom at a time when the country is struggling to offer effective health services. In the year 2020, Zimbabweans recorded by the United Kingdom National Health Services were 4,049, with Nigeria being the top African importer of the medical professionals to the United Kingdom. Reports say 1 in 7 nurses and over 1 in 5 doctors in the UK were from a non-European Union and non-UK country and other countries whose health workforce has sought greener pastures in the United Kingdom, including India and the Philippines. But the biggest number of health employees is from Africa. However, over the past years, Zimbabwean nurses and doctors have been engaged in strikes over poor salaries and bad working conditions where they work without medicines and other medical equipment. Dental Private Practitioners Association of Zimbabwe President Johannes Marisa says the massive brain drain to Europe began in 2019, and there has been more than 200% increase in the number of health workers leaving Zimbabwe for greener pastures, with 2021 recording around 2,100 workers that left the country. Let's take a look at your other news. The United Nations says it would invite Sudanese military leaders, political parties and other groups to take part in a political process this week aimed at ending a crisis unleashed by a coup in October. UN mediation in the weeks after the coup succeeded in reinstating Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok, but his resignation last week deepened uncertainty around Sudan's political future and a transition towards elections scheduled for 2023. Neighborhood-based resistance committees, political parties and other pro-democracy groups have carried out an ongoing campaign of protests under a no-negotiation slogan and crackdowns by security forces that have left at least 60 dead. However, according to analysts and diplomats, unless a new course towards a transition and credible elections can be charted, more instability within and beyond Sudanese borders is likely to occur. Announcing the launch of the United Nations facilitated process in a statement, United Nations Special Representative Volker Perthes says all measures taken to date have not succeeded in restoring the cause of this transformation, and the repeated violence against largely peaceful protesters has only served to deepen the mistrust amongst all political parties in Sudan. Meanwhile, the United Nations is inviting Sudan's military armed movements, political parties, civil society, and resistance committees to join and participate in the transformation. Well, coming up next is your JIT-TV business news.
Welcome to Zambezi River Lodge, Victoria Falls. Nestled on the banks of the mighty Zambezi River, right on the edge of the national park, Zambezi occupies the most unique and finest spot with the tranquility and seclusion every traveler seeks. Each of its well-appointed rooms is either garden or river facing, allowing you to soak in the serenity of the environment. The award-winning restaurant Amlonga offers delectable cuisine, which includes our famous high teas. To explore Victoria Falls from this fine location, book any of our packages now. Zambezi River Lodge. Relax, refresh, replenish.
Your leading story on your business news this hour: occupancy at Victoria Falls hotels in Zimbabwe averages 75% during the festive season and could have been much higher without travel restrictions, as this negatively impacted on mobility. Tourism is one of the sectors most affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, negatively impacting economies, livelihoods, public service, and opportunities normally associated with travel and tourism globally. However, Hospitality Association of Zimbabwe Madebeleland Chair Arnold Musonza tells journalists that the festive season cushioned the tourism sector from what could have been a potentially devastating blow. According to the latest World Tourism Organization data, international tourist arrivals are expected to remain at 70 to 75% below 2019 levels, while international travelers and at the diaspora traffic remained largely subdued due to the 10-day quarantine requirements, which compel visitors to isolate before they are free to mix and mingle. Meanwhile, efforts to lure domestic tourists have started yielding results, as Victoria Falls hotels had more and more of bookings from locals from Bulawayo, Gweru and Harare who visited Resort City, and the whole resort was quite busy for 10 days with an average occupancy of about 75%. Adding to that, one of the major hospitality industry players, African Sun, says recently in its financials that domestic travel would continue to drive the economy in the short term, and also the fall in COVID-19 cases across the globe by mid-2021 led to a partial return to normalcy in key sources markets like the United Kingdom and the United States of America. In your other business news, a South African civil society group says it has lodged a complaint against Bain and Company with the United States Department of Justice after the state capture inquiry found evidence of a coordinated agenda between Bain, former President Zuma, and the SA Revenue Services to seize and restructure the tax agency. However, Public Interest South African founder and chair Tebogo Kas, in a statement, says the days of folding hands and hoping that the National Prosecuting Authority will effectively pursue prosecutions against corrupt multinationals are over. The state capture inquiry report recommended that law enforcement agencies probe Bain with a view to enabling the National Prosecuting Authority to decide whether or not to initiate prosecution related to the awarding of contracts to the group. The SARS evidence has been regarded as a clear example of how the private sector colluded with the executive, including President Zuma, to capture an institution that was highly regarded internationally and render it ineffective. Meanwhile, Chair and Active Chief Justice Raymond Zondo recommends that all Bain's contracts with government departments and organs of state be re-examined. However, public interest South Africa's complaints against Bain comes as a former United Kingdom Cabinet Minister, Lord Peter Hain, this week calls on Prime Minister Boris Johnson to ban Bain from government business. This brings us to the end of our JIT-TV business news. Up next is Dennis Pine with your sports and entertainment.
Hello and welcome viewers, my name is Denise Pine and you're watching JIT-TV Sports and Entertainment News. On your sports news this hour, the COVID-19 pandemic remains one of the major challenges of the Continental Soccer Tourney, as at least 7 of the 24 participating teams have already been affected by the pandemic, including Senegal, Gabon, Burkina Faso, Malawi, Cape Verde, Tunisia and the Gambia. CAF had authorized participating teams to increase the number of players from the usual 23 to 28 to ensure there would be substitutes in the case of COVID-19 positive cases. During the pre-match press conference, the assistant coach of the Stallions, Firmin Sanu, already argued that his players who had been declared positive for the virus were not actually positive. He argues that the team cannot be told at the eve of the game that their players are positive, and officials need to think and bring a transparent team from CAF to come and conduct the tests so that they will be sure the players will not participate in the match. Adding to that, the Burkina Faso delegation also disputes the fact that tests were not PCR tests, which must be carried out 48 hours before the match, and have requested a second opinion. The team says the authorities must review the organization. They could not accept the results of most of their players who tested positive. Hence, they requested to redo the tests of their positive players. Keep in touch with us on all the Africa Cup of Nations football news and analysis on JIT Television with me, Denise Pine, and Zimbabwe Warriors legend Edo Bedina, and our panel of new guests every single day until the end of the tournament.
You know what I want to say to you. Goal shy. Goal shy, goal shy, goal shy, goal shy, and then 2-1.
Huffing and puffing. Yeah. We don't know where the way these guys are keeping their goals, because this is a tournament where we should be enjoying the game, the goals. But how many games? Five games?
6 games.
6 games. 5 games of which it's 1-0. So hoping maybe because everybody is trying to be cautious.
Yeah.
And they want to secure the 3 points, and then probably in the second round. Because remember, 4 points you can easily qualify. So I think now, because everybody has to get the 3 points first, and then maybe in the second round, maybe we'll be able to see goals.
But now, don't you think, okay, I understand that concept or that approach, but don't you think it would have been better if people tried to score a little bit more, like what Cameroon did? Like, don't you feel that would be the ideal start to the tournament?
Because remember, if you score first...
Coming up next is the JIT-TV Weather Report. And this brings us to the end of the JIT Television News Bulletin at this hour. Stay tuned to JIT TV as we bring you the best in entertainment news, information, analysis, sports, business, and all the headlines of the day. And stay in touch on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram on our website www.jit-tv.tv and leave a comment. My name is Denise Pine, and see you same time tomorrow.